Hello guys and welcome to VoloKin Project. Today I'm gonna do a very unique double review of the Moto G6 and the Moto G6 Play. Both phones has just been discounted in the US to 180 and 200 bucks and in the UK to 150 and 180 pounds. So if you're planning to buy one of those phones, now is the time to consider. But which one is most suitable for you? Let's find out. Okay guys, so the first thing I'm gonna do is a long and boring unboxing showing you that there's one charger in the box themselves. I mean, come on guys, green boxes, nothing special over here. So these are the two phones. I managed to snatch on Amazon a pretty nice carbon case for the G6 Play. I have no idea the brand of that case, but I'm gonna leave a link in the description down below. It fits quite well and it looks nice, but now I'm gonna have to remove it so I can show you, the phones themselves. So check this out guys, what is the main difference in both of those phones? On the G6 Play we've got a plastic back over here which feels quite nice, to be honest with you. It has a slight kind of a greenish tint and the color kind of refracts in a very nice way depending on the sunlight and on the environment as well. So overall very solid build and nice in the hand. You've got this Moto display over here which shows whenever you pick up the phone like that. You've got the same functionality on the Moto G6 as well, but the build quality over here is a little bit better because they've used glass and it just feels a little bit more premium, guys. So what do we have at the back? Over here we've got a dual camera setup, one for the bokeh and one main 12 megapixel camera. And over here on the Moto G6 Play, we've got one 13 megapixel camera. If you want me to show you a comprehensive camera test, you can check my Moto G6 separate camera review, which I'm going to link in the description down below. So the back cameras are very similar when it comes down to, daytime performance. Low light, both of them fail miserably. But if you want to know more, watch my full camera coverage. At the front, we've got 8 megapixel shooters and front facing flash as well on the Moto G6 Play. They're not very good cameras, but they definitely get the job done. Again, watch my full camera coverage over here. Now, thanks for noticing, by the way, that's the original Moto 360, 3 years old and still going strong. Well, yeah, the battery died probably. But anyway, at the back, actually, the Motorola logo on the G6 Play is the fingerprint reader, guys. And check this out, it's not one of the fastest, but it's very secure and it definitely gets the job done. When it comes down to face unlock, the process is a little bit more cumbersome because you have to look at the phone, wait for the locker to unlock over here and then swipe like that. On the Moto G6 it's a little bit more convenient. The fingerprint is at the front and it's overall quicker and more accurate over here, and face unlock works like that. You press to unlock like that and kaboom, it gets in. It's not OnePlus 60 quick, but it's definitely, nice feature to have. Now, what else do we have, guys? The speakers on both phones are over here at the top, but unfortunately the quality is not the same, guys. On the G6 over here, the quality of the speaker is absolutely the same as the Moto X4, which is quite loud and of nice quality. Unfortunately, on the Moto G6 Play, I guess they've cut down some corners, and although the volume is good, the speaker itself is a little bit teeny, so it's not very pleasant to the ear, guys. Now, when it comes down to headphone output, on the G6 we've got it at the bottom, on the Moto G6 Play we've got it at the top over here, and the sound is pretty much average. You've got Dolby over here, let me show you guys. When you swipe over here, you've got Dolby Audio, which is active at the moment. Basically, that's a fancy name for an equalizer, but that doesn't compensate the average headphone output. However, on the Moto G6, you can actually use a third-party dongle to increase the volume output, but because the USB port of the Moto G6 Play is just micro USB, you cannot use a separate dongle, so you're kind of stuck with what you get, pretty much average headphone output on both phones. Now what about battery life, you might say? On the Moto G6 Play we've got 4000 milliamp hours of battery, and on the Moto G6 we've got 3000 milliamp hours of battery, guys. And unlike many other YouTubers, I actually use my review devices, which are not really review devices, I pay for them out of my pocket. So a real test, real day in the life, as some YouTubers say. Check this out. This is my usage on both phones, guys, and this is my screen on time. 6.5 hours on the Moto G6 Play and almost 6 hours on the G6. Check this out. These are my next statistics over here. 5 hours 21 minutes, 5 hours 24 minutes. Check my usage again. 7 hours 36 minutes. Excellent results. I can imagine that's Wi-Fi only. 5 hours 42 minutes over here, guys. Again, my usage 7 hours 3 minutes, 6 hours 37 minutes. My usage again. Now that's 6 days and 2 hours. I can imagine that I was testing the standby time. So because of the big battery, you can easily get 6 hours with conversations, guys, which is a very good result over here. And over here, I've got 5 hours and 10 minutes. I've got a little bit more statistics here. 4 hours 46 minutes, 4 hours 35 minutes, 5 hours 9 minutes, and 6 hours 41 minutes, 6 hours 27 minutes, and 4 hours 52 minutes. So basically on both phones you're getting a solid battery life between 4.5 and 6.5 hours on the Moto G6, and between 5.5 and 7.5 hours on the Moto G6 Play. Excellent results. About the recharge times, 2.5 hours for the Moto G6 Play with the turbocharger and 1 hour 40 minutes for the Moto G6. Excellent results for such a mid-range phones. Now what about the gaming performance, you might say? On the Moto G6 over here we've got the Snapdragon 450, but don't forget we're pushing a 1080p screen over here. On the Moto G6 Play we have the Snapdragon 430, but the screen is only 720p, guys. So I did a comprehensive speed and gaming test between both of those phones. I'm gonna leave a link in that video in the description down below, but just quickly to sum it up for you guys, check this out. The overall performance and optimization is a little bit better on the Snapdragon 450 over here. On the Moto G6 it just feels a little bit snappy, but the gaming performance is the other way around. Check this out, guys. 47 FPS over here on Epic Citadel and 56 FPS, and on the CastJab benchmark we've got a big difference. 21 FPS, which is quite miserable on the Moto G6, and almost double, 39 FPS on the Moto G6, guys. That's because of the difference of the resolutions, but basically on gaming you're gonna struggle a little bit with the Moto G6. It's not very good and it's choppy. On the Moto G6 Play it plays like butter. So as I mentioned, displays 1080p screen on the G6 and 720 screen on the G6 Play. And when viewing images, you're not gonna see any difference between both of those screens, guys. These are very decent screens, but one difference that I found is that on the Moto G6, the IPS glow is a little bit more visible than on the G6 Play. The contrast is better on the G6 Play, so naturally the blacks are deeper, when over here the blacks are a little bit on the bluish side. But when you're gaming and when you're watching a YouTube video, you definitely see the difference between 1080p and 720p. I mean, 720p is a little bit unacceptable for a 2018 phone, guys, but anyway, both of those are good screens actually. And now when it comes down to software, they're running pretty much stock Android. They're quite responsive. Unfortunately, there is no Android Pie, but to be honest with you, that's a good thing, because from what I've seen, Android Pie is actually worse than the current Oreo version. So you should actually be happy that you still haven't got the update. And I updated my Motorola one, which is well, somewhere in the room, and it actually got slow with Android Pie. So stay on Oreo. That is my recommendation for both of those phones, guys. Now, they're pretty much running the same firmware, but with very minor differences. For example, on the Moto G6, you can actually set up the fingerprint to act as a navigation button over here. You press once, you go home, you swipe right, you activate the multitasking, and you swap left for a back gesture. On the Moto G6 you do not have this option, and the worst thing is that you cannot by default rearrange those buttons over here. As you can see, I have already swapped their order, and these are Galaxy S8 buttons, which you can change with this application, custom navigation bar. I have a separate video on that which I published like 2 years ago, but surprisingly it's still relevant because many manufacturers do not offer this option out of the box. So pretty much stock Android, as well as these normal gestures like chop twice to activate the torch like that, as well as, you know, twist the camera like that to activate, well, the camera itself. So you have this on the Moto G6 as well, and this ambient screen over here, guys. Let me just unlock this baby like that, and this ambient screen like that. When you touch the phone, it activates the screen like that, and it shows you your notifications. So pretty much I'm very happy with the Android experience. Okay guys, so it's time to conclude this video. This year Motorola pumped up the price of the G series a little bit, but they offer, you know, greater specs and better and more luxurious feel. So where do this phone fall on the VoloKin spectrum? If you're new to my channel, this is a scoring system from 0 to 50. I score each of the 10 categories for each phone. So the first category is design and build quality. I'm gonna give 4 out of 5 to the Moto G6 because it has a, you know, glass back, it's shiny, it's nice, it feels nice in the hand, but it's nothing, you know, super duper fancy. So 4 out of 5 I think is fair, and I'm gonna give the Moto G6 Play 3 out of 5 because of the plastic build, but it still feels quite solid. The next category is security, and I'm gonna give 5 out of 5 to the Moto G6 because it has a proper face unlock, as well as the fingerprint reader is decent enough and it's at the front as well. And I'm gonna give the Moto G6 Play 3 out of 5 because the face unlock is not the proper, you know, direct face unlock, and the fingerprint reader at the back is a little bit on the slow side. The next category is battery life, and I'm gonna give the Moto G6 3 out of 5 because it charges for 1 hour 40 minutes, which is fine, but unfortunately the battery life is not brilliant, 4.5 to 6.5 hours. And on the Moto G6 Play, I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 because the battery life is 1 hour better, you can get 7.5 hours, and the recharge times are just over 2 hours, which is decent enough. Now the next category is screens, and I'm gonna give 3 out of 5 to the Moto G6 simply because it's just a regular 1080p screen, nothing fancy really. And I'm gonna give 2 out of 5 to the Moto G6 Play because it's a 720p screen. I can't give it more than 2 out of 5, guys. It's 2018 after all. Now the next category is speakers, and unfortunately these scores are not very high over here as well. On the Moto G6 it gets 3 out of 5 because of the front facing speaker, which is decent enough and of good quality and good volume. But unfortunately I'm gonna give the Moto G6 Play 2 out of 5 because the volume, yes, it's loud, but the speaker is a little bit annoying to your ears, so 2 out of 5, guys. The next category is headphone output, and although both of those phones has actually headphone jacks and they have Dolby as well, the headphone output is not very impressive, so 3 out of 5 is well deserved here. What about the software, you might ask? I'm gonna give the Moto G6 5 out of 5, guys, because you've got stock Android plus additional Motorola features plus the ability to use gestures as well on the fingerprint reader. You know, the twist to launch the camera, chop to launch the torch, so all the nice extras, 5 out of 5. Unfortunately, some of these features are missing on the Moto G6 Play, and that's because I'm giving it 4 out of 5. Now performance, that's a very interesting one, guys. Because of the very good optimization, I'm gonna give 3 out of 5 to the Moto G6 because the gameplay is a little bit on the downside, and because of the actually good gameplay on the Moto G6 Play, I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 as well. Okay, so the next category is selfie camera, and unfortunately both of those phones are not very good at selfies, so they deserve 2 out of 5 on both occasions. And the last category is main cameras. I'm gonna give the Moto G6 3 out of 5 simply because the daylight performance is actually quite good, guys. And I'm gonna have to give 2 out of 5 on the Moto G6 Play because the camera is not very good anytime. So yeah. Okay guys, so what's the overall VoloKin Spectrum score? Well, the Moto G6 gets 34 out of 50, which is, well, relatively low. And the Moto G6 Play gets 29 out of 50, which places it at the moment at the bottom of my spreadsheet. And that's why I've reviewed mostly flagship phones and actually better phones. But for the price, both of those phones are quite decent. However, if you can get the Moto X4 cheaper or at the same price, go for the Moto X4 because it's an overall better phone. I know that in some countries you can get it for 150, 160 bucks, which is absolutely crazy. I've got a review on the Moto X4 and comprehensive camera test as well. I'm gonna leave links in the description down below. Also, I've got a comprehensive speed test between both of those phones. You might check this one out as well. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Let me know in the comment section below if I managed to help you out which phone to choose. And let me know if you have any feedback. I would appreciate if you subscribe and leave a like at the end. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one. Adios.